This bedroom set is about to undergo a massive makeover. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard of the famous Pottery Barn faux finish, and that's what we're gonna do today. So these Sausalito bedroom sets run for over $5,400 at the store, and while they're undeniably gorgeous, $5,000 is a lot. It's like a lot. But not to worry, because I'll show you step by step how to get that high-end look without having to sell your bone marrow. Legally. So first things first, let's remove all the hardware with our electric screwdriver, and remember to throw them in some kind of container to keep them all together. Next, we're scrubbing down these pieces and getting rid of all the dirt and nastiness from its previous life, because everything is disgusting unless it's your own. I'm using Dawn dish soap because it's cheap and it cuts through any oil that might mess with the adhesion of the primer. So scrub-a-dub-dub, let's get that thing clean and we'll rinse off with the rag.
Hey, I need millions before me.
Now, some dressers have this little tab here that you have to press down in order for the drawers to come out. So if your drawers aren't pulling out like they should be, check to see if you have these little tabs before you just yank it out. Okay, so let's get these pieces scuffed up with some 120 grit and ready for primer. I found this picture on the internet that gives a really good visual of what sanding actually looks like under the microscope. So you'll see these tiny scratches, and that's really good at grabbing your product because of the increased surface area. Now, this might be a stupid example, but take this rigatoni. Sounds good, right? That's because it's got all these ridges all around it that hold onto the sauce, where the real good stuff's at. So that's what's happening to your surface. You're creating these rigatoni ridges to hold onto all that sauce. Well, it turns out my sander is too big to fit into the drawer face, so I'm going to take the same grit, 120, and hand sand it instead. After everything's sanded, we're going to address these scratches and flaws with some wood filler. There are a bunch of microdents, as I like to call it, that were all over the surface, so I mixed up some wood filler with water and spread it all over the tops before sanding it down smooth. I like to leave a little haze of wood filler because if I sand through it, I'm basically undoing all the work that I just did. But it's not just that, because putting it on is easy, it's the waiting for it to dry part that I don't want to have to go through again. So when everything is sanded down and perfect, we can move on to the final stage of prep, and that's priming. I'm using my spray primer because as you can see, I'm losing daylight out here, and using a spray is just the fastest and easiest way to go. Plus, it's oil-based, so it's more durable than just a water-based primer. I'm using a piece of hardboard as a guard to prevent any overspray, but if you do get some on there, wipe it off quickly with some mineral spirits and you should be fine. I know it's a lot of priming, but this is a really big project, so we've got a lot of surfaces to cover, so please bear with me. So this Kilz dries chalky and dries a little textured, so make sure to sand it smooth after. You want it smooth for paint. Speaking of paint, we're going in with this tan beige. My client chose Antler Velvet by Sherwin, and as you just saw, we strained it into our sprayer and thinned it out, and we'll usually go like 20% water in this specific sprayer. And if you're wondering, this is the Homeright, and while I do love this gun, the seal on it broke, so we had to create our own seal with plastic wrap, which you'll see. Sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. And taking off the backs of these nightstands made it so much easier for me to get in there with my sprayer, so always remember just to look at your piece to see what can be dismantled, just to make it easier for yourself. My aunt paid us a visit and she's here to do a nice little jig. She is literally the most energetic lady I've ever met. She walks her dog 10 kilometers a day, that's 6 miles in American, and she does this every day. Talk about goals. Anyway, back to work. I'm gonna finish painting these and then we can get to the good stuff. Okay, so now this is the secret sauce. This is the Rustoleum glaze in Java Brown, and that's what's gonna give you that faux wood grain. So essentially, you'll take a little bit, and a little goes a long way here. Just brush it on there, and you're gonna take a big brush like this and smooth it out. Next, we have a stiffer brush, and we drag it through nice and straight in one motion. Then I'll take off the tape and clean it up with a wet shop towel if any of the glaze got under the tape, which is a pain, but it will happen. Okay, so here's a bigger surface so you can really see what's going on. So again, spread the product. This part can be pretty messy, and I do like to work in sections. This first brush can be any brush, just get it on there. Then comes the fluffy brush. This is the deck stain brush. See how it just smooths it out? This is just to get your lines straight, but next you want your stiffer broom brush. This blue one is just from the dollar store, and then this one defines the grain. Again, you don't have to work quickly, but you do have to be precise. This stuff takes days to dry, so it is a forgiving finish in the sense that if you mess up, as long as you go over it quickly again, you can usually fix it before it dries. But after it dries, that's a whole different story, but I'll get to that in a second. Now, honestly, these pieces were not the easiest to do this finish on, because look at all that trim. It's obviously not flat, which would have been so much easier to do, but since it's not, I have to strategize and decide kind of like which way makes sense for the wood grain to go. I mean, you don't have to split it up like this, like me, but every time your line gets disrupted by the trims, it'll show in the finish. There might be a little wiggle from the brush going over the different levels or a smudge from the brush, so we're doing it this way. This is a client piece, so I want it to be as good as possible. We're doing the verticals first, so I taped off all the horizontals, which is a process all in itself. So my process was to do the verticals, remove the tape, wipe up the messy bits, wait the 3 days for it to fully dry, and then tape on top of the verticals to do the horizontals. So that's why it's important for it to be fully dry. How many times did I say verticals? So I like to apply pressure to the brush because that spreads out the product a lot better. Sometimes you'll get like a darker patch at the top and it looks kind of messy, so I'm just trying to get the coverage as even as possible. And this little blue brush that I have here is literally the best. It's thin from the profile view, so you can really get right up there and spread it out.
What are you doing, bud? Odin, come here. You gotta come.
So after all that's done, we wait for it to dry before taping off what we just did to do the other parts. And just a side note, this product goes on pretty warm toned, so you'll see when I take off the tape, the work I've done underneath has dried more of like a cooler aged brown look. But you see how even after I've taped off, there are those smudges underneath? That's another reason why it's really important to let the other parts dry fully. So if you go in with a damp shop towel to clean it up, then it doesn't remove the old work. And listen, let me just rant for a second. Unless you get an angel piece with no trim and you can go edge to edge off the piece, I don't really think this is an easy finish. Well, I mean, it's technically easy to do, but it is a hard one to do well because all of that grain is hand brushed, so there is quite a bit of room for error. And I feel like this finish gets touted as like a beginner-friendly, idiot-proof way to make your furniture look amazing and high-end, but I do admit that I struggled with this one. And if you don't do it well, then it doesn't look high-end, it'll look DIY, which is not what I want. There's just so many chances for the grain to go wavy or speckly, or oops, you missed a spot and it's too dry to fix now, so you either have to like redo that whole surface again or try to spot fix it, which will make it look blotchy. But then if you redo that whole surface again, now one face is too dark because it's got double the product, so now you have to paint over it before starting all over. Oh wait, but you still have to wait 3 days for it to dry. Like, no one is talking about this, but I know this is happening and I know this bothers you. Like, I probably wouldn't be so picky about the finish if I was just like selling it back out on Marketplace or keeping it for myself, but it would still be there, and then I would just have to convince myself that it's fine, or it's not that bad, or my personal favorite, it's rustic. Okay, listen, I'm sorry, I'm done. And it actually does look pretty damn good. Okay, so the moral of the story, inspect it heavily after every section, fix everything while it's still wet, while you still can before moving on, and you'll be fine. Okay, I digress. Let's get back to it. I'm getting a little carried away. So, while all that is drying, I cleaned off all the hardware with some soap, and we decided to spray the handles black just to match the finish a little bit better. Okay, there's another funny story here. So the can got clogged, right? And you can kind of see it here, it's not really spraying that good. And stupid me used a pin to unclog the nozzle while it was still facing me, and then I got sprayed in the face. It wasn't too bad, but I do wish I got it on camera, because that would have been pretty funny. So we're finally done, and it's time to top coat with some polyurethane, because I will be damned if this finish is not protected and sealed. For life. So I'm going in with some of Behr's matte poly, and I'm spraying really thin layers, because if I go heavy, then it might dry a little milky or blue, since I can't really tint it like I usually do. So we ended up doing 4 thin coats in total, and this baby just needs a little more time to dry before I can put the backs back on, stage them real nice, and put the hardware back. But before we show you the reveal, I just want to take a second to go back to how these started. They were in good shape, but they were definitely a little dated and dark. and I'm so glad that I was able to take these old girls back into the modern world. I honestly think these look really good and pretty dang close to the Pottery Barn that I was hoping to achieve. And yeah, this set came with its own challenges, but I think it was so worth it in order to get these results. And it only cost me 30 bucks to do, plus a few gray hairs, I guess. But let's talk about the numbers. I was $30 all in, like I said, and I had priced these at $1,400, giving me a profit of $1,370. Now, this took me a long time to do, probably like 12 to 14 hours total, giving me an hourly of at least $98 an hour. That sounds pretty freaking good to me, plus my client got to save $4,000, which is a win for everyone. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe, comment, and like the video, and I will see you guys next time on Holly's Garage. Bye guys.